government and communities are working together, leveraging market opportunities, policy leaderships, and innovation to accelerate ocean positive transitions. We will hear from the leaders who are shaping the future of blue economy through science, technology, investment, and collaborations. So without further ado, to set the tone and for this session, I'm honored to invite His Excellency Sakti Wahyu Trenggono, Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, to deliver the opening remark. Minister, please.
Good afternoon, His Excellency Mr. Peter Thomson, UN Secretary General, Special Envoy for the Ocean. Thank you for coming. Mr. Alfredo Giron, Head of Ocean, World Economic Forum. Mr. Vincent Pettibone, Co-CEO and Chief Science Officer of OceanX. Pak Tony Wenas, selamat datang Pak, Presiden Director of PT Freeport Indonesia, as well as the Vice Chairman for Downstream Sector, the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Banyak jabatannya. It is an honor to welcome you to the Indonesia Pavilion Endless Horizon. Thank you for joining this important dialogue on harnessing the impact of sustainable blue economy, a topic that is no longer optional but essential. This side event is designed as a space for constructive dialogue, partnership, and concrete collaboration. Today, the world faces economic uncertainty, climate change, and mounting pressure on natural resources. In this context, the ocean must be at the center of global solution. A sustainable blue economy is a strategic pillar for food security, climate resilience, job creation, and long-term prosperity. To unlock this potential, we must shift from short-term exploitation to long-term stewardship and from fragmented effort to coordinated multi-stakeholder action. As the world's largest archipelagic state, Indonesia reaffirmed its commitment because the ocean is our history. Ocean is a part of our history, our identity, and our future, which 2/3 of our territory as marine waters, ocean health, is directly tied to our economic and social stability. For us, the blue economy is not just an environmental agenda, it is an economic and investment agenda. Indonesia is implementing measurable programs through its blue economy policy, namely expanding marine and conservation areas to cover 30% of our water by 2045, implementing quota-based responsible fisheries, promoting sustainable aquaculture, strengthening ecosystem surveillance on coastal and small islands, and engaging fishermen and coastal communities in reducing marine plastic pollution. Our goal is clear: protect marine ecosystem while driving productivity, value creation, and inclusive growth for coastal communities. But ocean challenges are global and transboundary. No country can solve them alone. Collaboration among governments, businesses, financial institutions, academia, and civil society is critical. Platforms like the World Economic Forum makes this possible. In this spirit, I'm proud to announce Indonesia will host the Ocean Impact Summit 2026 on 8 till 9 June in Bali. The summit is an action-driven forum focused on partnerships, implementation, and impact investment in marine and fisheries sector. To conclude, I call on business leaders and CEOs. Indonesia is open for partnership. Let's work together to develop scalable, sustainable, and bankable solutions that deliver value for both the planet and the economy. We look forward to continue engagement here in Davos and to welcoming you in Bali. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Please be seated again. So, thank you. Now, before we begin our panel discussions, it is a privilege to invite Pak Peter Thompson, UN Secretary General Special Envoy for the Oceans, to share the encouraging remark. He, the ocean legends. Pak Peter.
Thank you very much, Minister Trenggono, and ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the honor of speaking to you all this morning. When Indonesia calls, we all come. Why? As you heard already, it's the world's biggest archipelago. And what happens in the ocean in Indonesia is relevant to the ocean all around the planet. So I'm really pleased to, and I committed to this, I think 9 months ago, to be attending the Ocean Impact Summit in Bali, as the Minister said, 8th and 9th of June. And we've just had a meeting to discuss the content of that summit, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be one of the most important ocean meetings in the intercessional, the way I like to think about it, the intercessional between the 3rd UN Ocean Conference and the 4th UN Ocean Conference. For those of you who don't know, the 4th UN Ocean Conference has been mandated by the UN General Assembly to take place in June 2028 in Korea, co-hosted by Korea and Chile. So I think this the meeting in Bali is one of the really important meetings in that intercessional period. Look, what Minister and I were talking about was the importance at any of these ocean meetings to get the balance right between conservation and sustainable use. So the sustainable blue economy, but conservation, in line with 30 by 30, which we've all agreed to under the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Here in Davos, at Blue Davos, because we were in Blue Davos this week, it's a source of great pride to me that I co-chair something called the Friends of Ocean Action, which many of you wouldn't have heard about, but is one of the most effective organs for ocean action around the world, and has been in existence for a long time now. It's a WEF platform with 50 to 100 ocean leaders at any one time who are members of the Friends. I'd just like to highlight one of the things that we have done, because I think it's very relevant to the Ocean Impact Summit in Bali, which is that Friends of Ocean Action, when we realized that 30 by 30 was really an existential matter for humanity. It's called for under the Global Biodiversity Framework, not because it's just a nice target, it's because it's an existential matter for humanity. If we don't protect 30% of the planet by 2030, we're going to see a cascading away of millions of species, and that will eventually take us with it. So we recognize this as a really important thing for the ocean, and we also recognize that if we didn't get ourselves organized, we would not get 30 by 30 in the ocean. So Friends of Ocean Action announced at the CBD COP in Cali a few years ago that we would put together an implementation plan, an action plan for 30 by 30 in the ocean. We did that, cost us a bit, good supporters, excellent report, launched in Nice last June by Mark Benioff, who's one of our patrons, and we're now in the implementation of that phase. So 30 by 30, what does it mean? How are we going to get 30% of the ocean protected? Well, one of the great boons is that the High Seas Treaty, BBNJ, has come into force this month. So that opens up one really big opportunity for us because we can now go out and put internationally endorsed marine protected areas out in the high seas. We didn't have that legal capability before. Now we have that. So that is one big one. We're working very diligently this year to try and get the giant MPAs down in Antarctica to be agreed to. Doing a lot of work between Norway, China, and others with Friends of Ocean Action heavily involved there. But we're also convening those that are on the cusp of doing big MPAs with those who have recently done them. You know, the biggest MPA in the North Atlantic, for example, was done last year by Azores. It's huge. I'm not one for stats, but it's huge. French Polynesia declared the whole of their giant ocean territory as an MPA last year at the UN Ocean Conference. So we are going to convene annually between now and 2030, we being Friends of Ocean Action, an annual retreat where we put the practitioners together, those that are on the cusp of doing it but need some help to understand how you go about, because there are various models of how you sustain a marine protected area, a big one. And some of the governments involved, some of the agencies involved, some of the philanthropies involved, and the private sector. And that, of course, is where WEF can be of such a great help to us. So I just want to emphasize that side, because to me, that's probably the most important part of the conservation side of that balance that we always need to achieve, getting that 30 by 30, because marine protected areas work. I come from Fiji. I can see how they work. You know, if I go to one bay where there's an MPA, life is just abundant. I go to the next bay where there is no MPA and it's just fished out. There's nothing to see in the water. MPAs work. So on the other side of the equation, of course, is sustainable blue economy. We have to feed our people, and you know, that means that fisheries and aquaculture have a big role to play. But there's also the fact that, you know, all of our trade goes by the ocean, so it's ports and shipping. And I'm really glad to hear from the minister that that will be one of the focus areas in Bali when we get together in June, working with IMO. I'm an advocate for, you know, all the talk is about, you know, how to green shipping, you know, which carries our trade around the world on these great container ships. That's fine. We have to do that. That's the main game. But I'm also very keen to see that small-scale marine transport. You know, you come to Southeast Asia and see the amount of small boats they're operating everywhere, and they're all burning oil to propel themselves. So from small coastal cutters through to, you know, outboard engines going up the river in Bangkok, they're just, every day, they're just millions of these engines burning away. And that is so easy to electrify, just so easy. We should all be able to plug in our boats to an electricity outlet at the end of the pier. So I'm going to be bringing that up in Bali, Minister. I signaled that to you already this morning. So that's it, folks. We've got an excellent panel to listen to now, so I won't I'll leave it at that. But just to say, it's always such a joy to work with Indonesia, because from the days when Pak Luhut and I used to do this, I know that Indonesia does what it says it'll do. And it's great to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, for inspiring call to action, also reminder about the urgency we face. And before we start, I would like to invite all the ministers to sit together here. We need to take pictures. We need to take pictures. Pak Peter here, and Pak Alfredo, and also Pak Vincent, and Pak Wenas over there. Pak Wenas. Left the minister, yeah. And you over there. Yeah. Right, we need to take pictures, and then after that, we go straight to the sessions. Right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we can start the event. Please be seated, Pak Menteri and Pak Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite all the panel to sit here. We have, let's begin to the global, we have Pak Alfredo Giron. Head of Ocean of World Economic Forum, and Vincent Perrier-Bon, co-CEO of Chief Science Officers Ocean X, and also Pak Clayton Allen, Tony Wenas, actually. Tony Wenas be there, as I already mentioned. Let me start with Alfredo. Alfredo, from your vantage point at the World Economic Forum, what policy framework and partnership are most effective in accelerating ocean positive transformations? And how can we platform like WEF help again business innovations with ocean sustainability? I'm sure you can answer that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. There you go. Thanks so much for the invitation. Thank you so much, Minister Trongono, for hosting the summit, but also for the invitation to join you today. And thank you, Peter, for helping us set the stage. I think that what you have said about conservation and sustainable use is extremely important. And we see that reflected in several ways in the policy space. At an international level, the High Seas Treaty, the BBNJ agreement, just came into force January 17th.
On 17 January.
January 17th, exactly, Saturday. Yeah. Which for the first time will allow us to protect the largest part of the ocean. More than 50% of the ocean, now we have the tools to protect it. So that's on the conservation side. On the sustainable use side, we have the FAO that has implemented the Port States Measures Agreement for a while now, really trying to combat illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. We have the IMO, which is really trying to get the shipping regulation in place. And we are hopefully trying to think about how that translates all of these agreements and the fishery subsidies agreement, the other one that came into force late last year, that is, again, trying to disincentivize those harmful practices that are happening in the ocean. So how do we translate this now into national policy? There's many ways to do that. But Indonesia, for example, as part of the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy, has been working in the Sustainable Ocean Plan for the country. And we can call it different things, right? In Indonesia, it might have a slightly different name. But what it is in the end is a national ambition, a national direction that will tell us how to balance sustainable use with conservation. And once that direction is set is where we, as the World Economic Forum, can come in. Because once that direction is set, how do we bring in the right private sector partners? And I see some of you in the audience who are well aligned with that mission, with that plan, to start implementing that. How do we think about the investment? How do we think about jobs? How do we think about supply chains? So I think it goes from those international frameworks that set a clear vision to national leaders who can transform that into a clear direction for the country, to then opening it up to the next set of stakeholders where we can definitely support, and we stand ready to help Indonesia in any way you allow us to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfredo. Now I think it's better to go to science and technology. We have Vincent here. Vincent's Ocean X is known as for combining cutting-edge science with the storytelling. So how is technology driving breakthrough in science regeneration? So can you comment on that one? Please.
Thank you. And I'd like to also thank Minister Trongono, and I'd like to thank Indonesia in general. We've been now working with Indonesia for several years, Ocean X. We are proudly on our second mission as we speak today. The boat is now, our vessel is sitting off the coast of Sulawesi. So thank you very much, and thanks to Bryn and all the folks that we've worked with from the previous president to the new president's office on doing expeditions within Indonesian waters. And I've said over and over again that when Ray Dalio commissioned the building of our new vessel, he gave me the strict orders to build it to go to Indonesia, believe it or not, with Indonesia in mind, because he knew from the beginning, since he had visited years earlier, that this is by far and away the most amazing ocean country in the world. And so, as Mr. Thompson said, this is a place that it's sort of almost beyond belief how amazing the water and the people and the society interact. And so it's like a magical world there. And as we knew and as we know from seeing there, the majority of the underwater life and the underwater in Indonesia is fully unexplored, as it is in most parts of the world. It's not particularly unusual. But I think Indonesia has a desire to explore its waters. And I would note that within the territorial boundaries of Indonesian water are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 meter very unusual for countries in the world, as you know. I'm not telling you anything, but the rest that you don't already know, that an amazing range of biospheres. But again, unexplored. I can't tell you today what's down there, but every time we enter the waters in Indonesia, every time our submarines go down and our ROVs, something new comes out. And we spent a wonderful expedition last year on the southern coast of Sulawesi. We were there with KI also and the Blue Halo project, and we're just very proud to be in the place that is the most ocean beautiful and the most ocean potential, I think, of anywhere in the world. So we are strong believers in science and technology, and this new era of science, AI, technology, underwater robotics is the first time I think you truly can explore what is an incredibly difficult but a rich environment underwater. So we're excited to work together, and we're proud and glad and thankful that you've allowed us to enter your waters and work with you. And everything we've seen is amazing. And we're looking forward to multiple expeditions. We're looking forward to expeditions again at the end of the year with the vessel. So the vessel travels the world, but it comes back every year to Indonesia because it's the place to be. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that will give you the basis. One last thing, that understanding what's there will give you the basis for understanding what to do with it, I think, for sure, both in conservation and in use.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. So we can come back again with after Vincent. Now we have to go to Pak Tony. Pak Tony, how is Indonesian private sectors leveraging investment and downstream opportunities to accelerate the blue economy? Pak, can you comment on that one, please?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for hosting this, and Pak Trenggono, Pak Minister, and also colleagues from WEF and OceanX. Your first comments about Indonesia is very encouraging to us. So I'm speaking here on behalf of Kadin. Kadin is the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is an organization formed by a law where all businesses is actually under an association, business association are under Kadin. So basically it's a private sector association. And I would like to start maybe explaining about how's the situation in Indonesia right now. The economy in Indonesia is very good. I can say very good compared to other countries where our growth is stable at around like 5%. And the stability of the exchange rate is around like 16,000 to 16,900, and it's stable for the last years. And also the stability of the political situation in Indonesia for the last decades or 2 decades means it's quite stable. Security situation is stable, and that's why the investment is coming to Indonesia. Last year, the total investment is around $117 billion coming to Indonesia. It keeps increasing every year. And out of that, if I talk about downstreaming, is basically $35 billion out of the $117 billion are for downstreaming, which is now currently is mainly on the metals and minerals. It's around 22 billion, and then the plantation and forestry, and also the third one is the oil and gas, and the fourth one, unfortunately, is only $500 million, which is the fishery and maritime. But talking about the potential, we have, like you said, we have a very huge potential in fishery and maritime as well. Our ocean is like quite a big, the biggest archipelago, like you said, you know, and the coastal line is around like 80,000 kilometers. And we have also, talking about conservation, we have also huge area of mangrove, like 3.5 million hectares of mangrove. And also seagrass, you know, is very important as well to absorb carbons. So I think we have the largest mangrove area in the world, 3.5 million hectares. So with that, from the Kadin point of view, you know, we urge the companies to invest in a sustainable way, of course, not only in fishery and maritime, but only in other area like mining. Also, they will have to do it in a sustainable way. And there's a big potential. Like we have lots of fishes, we have lots of crabs, shrimps, and seaweed, not to mention seaweed. I think last year we produced around 6 million tons of fishes, which is less than 10% of our potential. And for seaweed, I think we only produce like less than 1% of the potential. We have around like 12 million hectares of seaweed potential in the country. So with that, the government, Pak Trenggono and Pak Minister of Investment as well, and the President as well are pushing hard to go further downstream for all areas. You can see in the panel over there, even though there's no information about the fishery and maritime, but the downstreaming on other areas is basically the national push for the companies to more, because it's not only about like to have more value added in the country, it creates more economy. Like currently the blue economy has contributed around 8% to GDP, and with the roadmap prepared by Trenggono and team, we plan to double it by 2045 to become like 15% contribution to GDP. So again, the potential is there, and we are working together closely between government and KADIN, and also with the international business association. We have been doing like roadshow to many places, many countries, with the president as well in some places, and also, separately from business to business discussion with our counterparts in other countries. So the potential is very big, and we invite you to come to invest in Indonesia in a sustainable way, and still have to also care for the conservation of the areas as well.
Thank you so much, Pak Tony. Right, so can I come back to Alfredo? Alfredo, so what are the biggest barriers to the global collaboration, and how do we overcome them? So can you comment on that one, please?
Yeah, that's a very big question.
Yes, I understand that, but can you make it short?
Well, let's start with thinking about the ocean. By the way, sorry, I got very distracted reading the map because I see that Central Java and Riau Island have seaweed potential that is very big.
Yeah.
And I also know that you recently had the first large-scale seaweed farms. I think it was in KL, if I remember correctly. So thank you so much for that reminder, because it's very important. And 15% ambition, Minister Trenggono, thank you. We need more countries like Indonesia with that level of ambition for the ocean economy. Sorry, going back to your actual question, what are some of the key barriers? I think that we are operating in a very fragmented world currently. But if you look at the Global Cooperation Barometer, which we published 2 weeks ago as the World Economic Forum, I think that the main finding was that cooperation internationally is not necessarily going down, but shifting forms. And it's going from something that was completely globalized, or almost completely globalized, to more regional and bilateral agreements. And I think that's very important to recognize, especially for something like the ocean economy, because we operate in the ocean and we have large-scale ecosystems that if we don't recognize those connections, we are not going to be doing the things that we need to do. So in the case of Indonesia, I think the leadership that you have shown in ASEAN in particular, and then the leadership that you showed through the G20 by establishing the Ocean 20, that's the type of collaboration that we need. That's the type of cooperation that we need. Strong countries with a lot of things at stake and that see the real opportunity to come together and to deliver on that. And so in that sense, Peter mentioned the Friends of Ocean Action, which is a community that we host with him. He's the co-chair of that alongside with Isabella Lövin, who currently is part of the EU Parliament. And it's a community of champions that over decades have pushed for these multilateral agreements for the ocean to come through. But they are also pushing for those more regional and those national objectives. And again, I think my only message here is that as we see things unfold, there's a very important role for countries like Indonesia that want to take strong leadership in a regional way, and especially for the ocean economy. I think that ASEAN is going to be really important for everything that we do. And let's extend that to Melanesia, actually. I think there's a very important thing to do also with Melanesia, especially when we think about the conservation of the most valuable marine resources.
Right. Thank you, Pak Alfredo. Back to Vincent again. Vincent, so what innovation do you think that excite you most the next decade, and then how we can scale them globally? Whether AI will be part of, or maybe you can copy the DNA of the deep sea creatures and then to become pharmaceuticals and also biocosmetics, something like that. Can you just comment on that one, please?
Sure. I think what I always say in this question is that the ocean in the scientific terms is a complex system, which is a term means it's a system that's affected by such a huge number of variables that at time can almost seem random. But with the advent of sophisticated modeling and AIs, your ocean systems or basins can be better modeled. And that's important because as you're exploring these advances and growth of the blue economy, you have a lot of, in some sense, competing entities that are working in space. And you want to make sure that as you utilize these resources from the water, that they don't, in a sense, interfere or damage or affect them. And that's essentially part of the conservation theme, is not just the idea that it should sit there and be protected. That's important, but also that protection helps, allow other economies to grow without being damaged. So does fisheries damage tourism? Does tourism damage, other concessions and things like that? So modeling these systems and the use of AI when they're fed lots of data, to me, is an exciting new way. It's not been done effectively yet almost anywhere on the earth, although it's a growing concept. So feeding a system a lot of information will get you, and data will get you up to a place where hopefully you can make predictions about climate change's impacts of industries on other things, and how to best secure all of these blue economy desires without them overlapping and damaging each other. So to me, in the ocean space, that's what excites me a lot about AI and large system modeling, that it will allow you to better understand where the fish are, where they're going, where the seaweed is good, where the seaweed's bad, or all those things that are affected by ocean properties. And there's a lot of effects. It's a three-dimensional space, and the thing that affects ocean, why it's so data poor, is it's tough to get there. And it's very tough in Indonesia to get there because you have deep water and you have a lot of water. It's more of your territorial is underwater. Far more of it than is. So you want to get out there and see what's going on, but the technology requires getting down in there. And then to your final point, what the modern AI and modeling and synthetic biology and all these crazy things that are happening on the cutting edge, last year's Nobel Prize, is leading to a place that allows a very gentle use of your resources, which is the exploitation of the biodiversity, both in the shallow and in the deep. I want to touch on the deep because everybody who's been to Raja Ampat knows that that's one of the most beautiful, diverse, shallow water coral reefs in the world. But I don't know if you know that if you go below the diving zone to 80, 90 meters, all the way down to 300-400 meters, you have an entirely different world of diversity. And that's a world of diversity that exists in darkness, exists in pressure, it exists in all these extremes that make it hugely valuable for biotech and the design and development. And with the advent of AI-based protein engineering, AI-based small molecule engineering, the teaching of those models with the material and the proteins and the things you get from the deep are hugely valuable. That's already transforming science in a way that in 10 years from now, how we treat human disease, how we create biopharmaceuticals and biologics, which are a class of pharmaceuticals now that are growing. In the U.S., Pfizer, a large company in the U.S., 40% of their revenue is generated on biologicals, which are proteins, and proteins come from the ocean, and proteins come from AI that can create them. So you still have sitting in those waters this kind of knowledge and wisdom that cannot be gained without going in and looking. But the good news is that you can explore it and you can exploit it. It's actually very non-damaging to the environment. Like, we go there, we take thousands of water samples, and from those you extract all of this information, or core samples. So it's not really damaging the environment, but yet it will build this very rich. So I would encourage Bryn, I would encourage Kakabe, I would encourage everybody to build a digital repository of what Indonesia is, under what its DNA is, which will be internal to the country, develop companies that can produce AIs on that material. Otherwise, Malaysia, these other places that have some of your biodiversity, or will go that direction. The sooner you get there, the sooner companies, I think, as we see AI companies in the US, achieving notoriety because they got there first. If you get there first with the biodiversity AI utilization, I think it's a powerful income driver for the country. It hasn't been done anywhere in the world yet, and you could be the first, and should be, because the biodiversity in your country on land and underwater is extreme by any measure. So that would be my excitement.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Vincent. Pak Tony, do you have more comments about how can a business adopt regenerative practice, Pak? So as you mentioned, Kadin is ready for partnerships and then come to Indonesia. But how can we ensure that it can be regenerative practice to balance the economic point of view and also for ecological point of view? Or maybe you have an example like in your report or something like that. Please share with us, Pak.
Yeah, thank you. First is that Freeport, we don't do fishing and we are a mining company. We don't do fishing or business in marine but we, as our commitment, we committed to plant 12,000 hectares of mangrove.
In Papua.
Mainly in Papua. But even though, in Papua you have like 1.5 million hectares of mangrove in Papua only. But additional 10,000 or 12,000, probably it's relatively small, but if it's from one company can do that, other companies will follow, then it will be very good for the climate, for the country, and for the ocean itself, right?
Leading by examples.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And
Thank you.
I'd like to emphasize about the collaborative action. Collaborative action between the company, the investor, whether it's domestic investor or foreign investor, to work closely with the fishermen. We have like around more than 5 million fishermen in the country. And the one who works in the, what they call it, the farm fishing is around like 15 million people. And mostly now, it's basically they just catch it and then sell it like that. So what we are trying to push is that to go downstream on that, to have a branded seafood and can, have a higher value, and it will help, it will create lots of jobs. I think it's around like more than 1 million jobs can be created from the blue economy. 1 million jobs is quite big. And like around 40 million people, 40 million of Indonesians live in the coastal area. So if those kind of industries, can be developed in the islands, not only the big islands, even the small islands where there are more fishes actually, like the government has already planned, it can double the contribution to the GDP. But not only that, it really helped the local people, the farmers, to increase their income, to have a much better life. And like you said, if we help them with using the digital technology, the AI technology, and the government's already introduced also what they call it, the upstream to downstream traceability of seafood. So if we can, magnify that and then make it works all over the country, so it will create not only lots of jobs, the welfare of the local people, and also good for the industry, and of course to the country as well.
Produce a higher value product.
Yeah.
Yes.
Farther down the supply chain, higher value product, more revenue, more jobs.
Right. So I just like to also give comment on the one, because Pak Menteri is, have the one initiative that is already leading by example, what we call this Kampung Nelayan Modern or Kalamo in Biak, Sambar Benri. So he's already how to combine integrated downstream into upstream to downstream of the fisheries. And you know that within the years, this is already improved the income of the community like a double or maybe now triple.
Sure.
121%.
Yeah. And they already export. Yeah.
Yep.
So please come to the Kalamo. This is already improvement of the infrastructure there. And one thing also, the side effect of the Calamo is now become a background for wedding. So what we call this pre-wedding, because nice place. So this is one of the side effect of the one. Right. I think. Do we still have a time, or maybe 5 minutes, or just to give the introduction? Is it okay to give the audience, right? But there's only one question from the audience. If you really have one question, so I can entertain that. Otherwise, we can go straight to concluding remark from all the panelists. Is there any question? No? Right. So can you give concluding remark from what do you think from this? Starting from Vijay Vincent.
I just couldn't be more excited, and I think Indonesia is right on this precipice. It's been growing and developing, and you have this amazing growth ahead of you. And the world is beginning to recognize it. It's very exciting. The investment potentials, the rigor of the economics, the rigor of the institutions, all of that makes Indonesia so that's a very exciting place. And going and interacting, and as an American, to me, it's great for us to bring that message back to the United States, because a lot of Americans don't make it this far out. So more and more, it's great. The tourism is great also. Get people in, they start to see it. Minds, light bulbs go off, and then I think the investment. So I'm excited as our little part that we play in the role with OceanX is bringing this beauty and this wonderful country with people to the rest of the world through imagery and storytelling. I think it's hugely productive at bringing in people in to understand this amazing place that you live in.
Thank you, Vincent. Alfredo?
Thank you so much. You know, our job at the World Economic Forum, having an ocean program, is to really demonstrate the economic case for the ocean. And I think there is not a better example right now than what you are doing, especially with what we were just talking about, the value add of those primary activities and those services. I think that vision is spot on. It's going to be able to position Indonesia in a very good place. But it is also something that I am really excited about for the Ocean Impact Summit. I think if that vision could be communicated to the leaders of other ocean nations, and so that we start thinking about that route for developing the ocean economy, that will be a great contribution of Indonesia, and really looking forward to supporting it.
Thank you so much. Pak Tony?
Yeah, thank you again. And I think we have the same vision about fishery and marine or blue economy. And what is most important is that the collaborative action, think big, start small, but act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Tony. So I think we come to the end. I just would like to mention here, so that if you have some Instagram promote to social media, please make the hashtag WEF 2026.
Hashtag Blue Davos.
Blue Davos, hashtag Blue Davos, and also Ocean Impact Summit 2026. And we already heard about the urgency of the need to harness impact. We explored solutions, policy science, as you have noted about the business innovations, and also we agreed one thing that Tony mentioned is collaboration is a key. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to emphasize again, so as ministers already invite you publicly, please come to Bali on the World Ocean Day and also Coral Triangle Day on 8 to 9 June 2006 in Bali. So we have the Ocean Impact Summit hosted by the President, Excellent President, and then there will be, the forum bringing together all the global leaders, business, scientists, innovators to turn ideas into real and measurable ocean action. So by saying that, I thank you. And for closing, I would like to invite Pak Menteri to give some token appreciation to the contributor. So if you don't mind, Pak, give some cendramata. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. So we conclude the meeting. Please bear in. Pak Vincent, there is some token appreciation from the ministers. Ke Pak Vincent dulu, Pak.
Sir, thank you.
Pak Peter satu ya. Nanti aja Pak. Terima kasih Pak Menteri. And also for our ocean legends, we invite Pa Peter. Always support, always encouraging us to do something for the ocean. Thank you, Pa Peter. Thank you for all this encouraging. Thank you so much. Yes, take pictures together. Can you show the logo and also I've got it. Yeah. So with the count of 1, 2, 3, we can say C. 1, 2, 3, C. 1, 2, 3, C. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Menteri.
I'm so good to see my special envoy of President Macron. We organized the maritime dialogue.